Hello, we're
we are
back.
back. We are just segueing right into part two. Hi, Momtelectuals. This is Bobbi. Just in case you're jumping in here instead of listening to part one first, Bobbi, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself again? We are talking about finding a personal definition of success, and you've had a very interesting journey. So just
I have, yes,
let
just
people know
personal.
who you are.
Who am I? I'm a blended family mom of two. I have a little boy who's 10, a little girl stepdaughter who's 12, from the East Coast, 45, and I'm retired and just working on my health and happiness. Happily married for 3 years. So, and oh no, the cat's gone.
The cat's
Hello,
gone.
cat
I didn't
mom.
even notice her go.
I know, she's asleep over there now. There's 3 of them. Somebody might make an appearance today, but yeah.
Okay. So we ended last time. We ended part one by talking about how therapy has really, I think, helped both of us get through some challenges. So I know some people are resistant to that, and it is what it is. But I think you have a very interesting journey of all kinds of different switches
life
you've
situations.
made in your life
Yes.
situations.
Yes.
And I'd really be interested in hearing, I think the listeners could potentially find it useful to, what got you to pay attention to different parts of your health, if you are up to talking about that.
Sure. I think it's because everything is connected, right? Your physical well-being is connected to your mental well-being. It's all connected. And as I keep, the theme is the journey for me being up and down as a roller coaster, as is my health. I was a classical ballet dancer. I danced 30 hours a week in a performing company. I was 111 pounds. And then I got into a bad marriage. I quit dancing. I got up to 213 pounds, like crazy. And my health went so downhill. And I thought I had a little, baby. I was a single mom from the start. I had a 2-year-old son when I hit my highest. And I thought, I can't bend over to get on the floor with him. I can't chase after him to help him teach to ride his bike. I was in a fatal car accident too, just about a year before he was born. And so that had really damaged my body a lot. And so I got to this point where I'm like, I had enough. And you hit those, for me, it was hitting this low that, oh my God, this little person relies on me and I'm it. And I couldn't, my back went out and I was so overweight because I'm pretty short. I couldn't even pick up my baby. I'm like, oh my God, like he needs me. I need to do something here. And so it was all about a journey of, I need to be happy and healthy because I don't want to be, like another family member who I watched just deteriorate, not take care of themselves. And I get to this point where, it's all tied in. I'm miserable up here. I'm miserable. My body aches, and it's just time. Like I can't make excuses anymore. If you want it hard enough, you can just do it, because talking about it's not going to get you anywhere. And so for me, it was a whole, I've got to start taking care of my mental health, my physical health, and working on it, because you design the life that you want to live. To me, that's really important, right? What kind of state do you want to live in every day? What do you see your future like? What do you need to do to obtain that future? Your definition of success, right? And so for me, I was not in a state of success. I was not in a state of happiness, and I was existing. Yeah. That's it. I existed. I loved my son. I loved being his mom. But other than being there for him, I felt like I was nothing else. And I don't want to live that way, because there's more to life. We only get this one chance, right? So it was really time to start, taking my health and well-being in control. And so starting with diet, and then starting with exercise, and, doing what I can there to start the ball rolling, because it's like a snowman or a snowball, right? You start the snowball, and if you keep pushing, it gets bigger and bigger, and, it gets some momentum and helps you keep going, right? Because you start to feel better, and you start to physically feel better, your brain starts to feel a little bit better. And so it's really important to keep going and to make those choices every day to 1%. They say, if you can do 1% a day to improve yourself, like, look where you'll be in a year, right?
It builds up over time.
It builds up over
you
time.
spiral down or spiral up, and it doesn't usually, with a car accident or some other type of accident or major health issue or something, it can feel like it happens suddenly. But for most of us, it doesn't. Like when I finally got diagnosed with postpartum depression, I was great for the first few months my son was born. Yeah. And it just was like the exhaustion every day, and it just spiraled down, and I didn't even realize how bad it was getting until it was just, I wouldn't say I was suicidal, but I remember knowing I had to change another diaper and just feeling like, I don't think I actually want to die, but it's the only way I'm going to get any rest.
Yeah.
If I were just to keel over, I wouldn't be around.
You wouldn't be terribly upset
anymore.
Yeah. I totally get that. I've been there. I get that. It's awful. And it's awful to feel that way.
It is. And maybe I would be really interested to talk to you about something I experienced, and I wonder if other people do, which is just like the moment you realize you have to do something differently is one of the hardest moments, because you may not have hit rock bottom. People talk about hitting rock bottom, but you realize things aren't okay and you have to change things. And when you finally admit you have to change things, everything looks so hard.
Yes. Yep. I have my moment. I can tell you flat out my moment with my weight and my health. I was on a conference. So we own a nutritional company, oddly enough, health and wellness. And I was on a conference in California. And it was two things. I was at a pool, and one of our we're taking pictures in a bathing suit. And again, I'm in my biggest I've ever been. And somebody who, repped it for us tried to show me how to pose so I wouldn't look so fat. First of all, that was the most embarrassing moment. I was mortified in front of a lot of employees and things. And so that was, first of all, a humbling thing. And then it was the heat. So we had flown. And of course, if you're a bigger girl, your legs swell, your feet swell. And after this conference, we went on to Vegas. And I was turning 40. And so it's like 5 years ago. And my feet, my legs swelled so much that I couldn't walk. I couldn't get my shoes on. Every step I took hurt. And I thought, this is it. Like, if I don't do something, I'm not going to be around. And my husband said to me, he's like, at the time we were just dating, he's like, he says, I don't care how big you are. I just want you to be healthy because we have plans. And those words to me was like, I finally found you. We have plans. And so those are ingrained in my head. And I'm like, okay, I'm done, because I stopped on the drive from California to Vegas and bought support hose at 40 to put on my legs to tighten up so that to try to get some of the swelling down. And I thought, how embarrassing is that? It's hot. I got to put support socks on up to my knees to try to get swelling down to feel comfortable, because I was so unhealthy. Okay, that's it. I'm done. Like, I couldn't enjoy my trip. I'm going back there actually to Vegas on Saturday, and I'm going to do the walk this time, and I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm not going to be in pain up and down the strip, because I couldn't do it before. And so that was that moment, that aha moment where, okay. And then I was like, I cried, because like, I can't give up all these things. These things are my comfort. Food is a comfort for me. I'm a very open food addict. I talk about it to everybody who wants to listen. It's part of my struggles. And so, that moment, like you said, when you realize you have to do something, it's exciting, it's scary, you don't want to fail. How am I going to do this? Where do I start? I failed at this so many times before, which, if you keep trying and you keep failing, that changes your story, that I'm worthless, I'm no good, I'm useless, I'm, the negative self-talk keeps coming in. Oh, I'm going to try it again. And so I just got to a point where I can't fail anymore. This has to be different, because I have people that want me around, and I have plans in life now. And so those moments were it for me. And it was, I'm glad I hit my rock bottom in a way, because I don't know, I truly believe that if something didn't happen, I don't think I would have lasted 10 more years. I don't think I would have seen 50 if I kept on that road that I was on. So,
well, and it sounds like you weren't having any fun.
No, I mean, I was having fun in a sense that I got to go places and do things and have these great experiences, but I was so miserable and physically unhealthy, which then led to mentally unhealthy, I couldn't enjoy any of it. Right? I couldn't enjoy any of it. And so, once I saw those changes happen and those little victories, like chasing after my son as I taught him how to ride his bike, those things to me was worth, all the money in the world, because I couldn't do it before. And so that reaffirmed that, okay, this might suck, but it's worth it. It's worth it to just try to keep going. And so, yeah,
I think there's so much for women wrapped up in our bodies and how we're seen by society and how we learn to see ourselves. And I really like, there's a book in my chapter I just wrote called Stop Dieting.
Yes.
And it's just, I don't know what actually ended up working for you, but what tends to not work for people is the whole eat less, exercise more, because you're usually worse off a year later. The data, that's what the data shows, right?
Totally.
And there are so many people making so much money from people, especially women. And I think I talk mostly to women. There's a whole other thing with men needing to be built and all the testosterone injections and all that's a whole other thing. So there's a lot of pressure on men too, but for women, it is that we're supposed to be skinny with the big tushy and the, chest, but it's also that when what has failed for almost everyone else fails for us, it's because we have failed and we're a failure.
Yeah.
And not because the system is broken and the whole diet, count your calories. That's what's broken, not us.
No, I agree. It's I talk to people about how I was treated as a big girl versus how I'm treated now. Oh my God, it's a night and day difference. It is unreal. I was telling my 10-year-old yesterday, we were in the car, I don't know what came up, but we were talking about this and your value and your self-worth, and how, unfortunately, when I was a big girl, I wasn't lazy. I was constantly on the go. Even as a 200-pound girl, I would run 10Ks. I wasn't lazy. But society viewed me as lazy and unattractive and unhealthy and all of these things. Now, in the end, I was unhealthy, but talking about equality, the statistics are the same person who could be not as attractive and a bigger person go in and be more qualified for a job, and a pretty skinny blonde comes in who's not as qualified might get the job over the not attractive person and might make more money doing it. I've had people ignore me and not talk to me when I was bigger. When I came back and lost weight, everybody wants to be my best friend. Well, that's hard, right? In your head, even though you've made the changes, then you still have to even deal with that, because then it's like, well, I did all these things. I'm healthier, but yet I'm still feeling all of this feelings and emotions around who I am now.
Yeah.
And it just seems like as women, it just doesn't seem to ever be enough,
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's working on that, right? It's accepting who you are and your body and just loving the skin you're in, no matter what it looks like, But my focus is being healthy. That's my focus. It's not about being skinny to me anymore. I think probably in the beginning, I wanted to be small and feel like I used to, because I was always a tiny girl. But now I want to be strong. I want to be healthy. That's my goal. And so.
Yeah. I really think a lot of people that need to, or feel they need to do body work, need to do mental work and emotional work.
Totally.
At least all at the same time. It is all tied in, for sure. And it's also hard because we need to eat to live. Which, if you smoke or if you drink alcohol or there are some things you can just give up and stay away from. Yeah. Theoretically, anyway. You can't do that with food.
No, it's funny you say that. I talk about that a lot because I do have, I have a lot of friends in recovery and addiction issues. And that's the thing, right? You abstain, you can't do it. But you can have a little bit. You have to have some to live, but you have to stop at this mark. And that's that. And it's such a hard thing. So I do, funny enough, I've got a workbook right here all about food recovery workbook. And it's all about working through your issues to why you turn to food addiction. Like, why do you turn to food? And so I found that really interesting to kind of go through. And as I said, that balance with food versus, cigarettes or drugs or whatever. It's a all or none with that. You have to stop. You can't stop a little. But food, it's dangled. You can have some, but it can't be this much, and it can't be that kind all the time, right? It's a balance. But it's and that's something I think struggle with for the rest of my life. I don't have that all together by no means, but I'm willing to keep working on it. And it, again, my diet and what I do, that's a constant wave. And it's never going to go away for me. It'll be a lifelong struggle, I think.
Yeah. So. And I talk a lot about self-compassion as being a very important piece to the journey, because if we beat ourselves up the first time we make a mistake, it makes it so much worse.
It does. But that's why you got to find your little victories, right? Like, you're going to beat yourself up. Well, you might have done this, but look at all the other good things you've done that day, or all the positive things, changes you have made. You might have slipped a bit, but you'll get back on there and you keep going. Everybody slips up. Everybody has a little bit of fallbacks, but just don't keep falling back. Get back on it. Eventually you'll get where you want to be, and it'll get a little bit easier every time, I think. But it'll still be hard.
And I mean, except, like, you seem very accepting that this is just part of your journey for whatever reason, whether it was something, who knows what happened in your childhood, whatever got you on using food for comfort, that is something that I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Yes.
And it's just, I think the first one very important step to that is just becoming aware. Am I eating to change my feelings, or am I eating and enjoying the thing? Right.
Exactly.
My son loves these YouTube videos, and some of them are wild and crazy, but there's this one where the person was talking about a Twix bar.
Yeah.
Right. So there's 2 chocolate bars in the thing. And there was this whole ad campaign. I don't watch TV, so I've never heard of it, but maybe listeners or there's this whole debate about which of the 2 bars that are seemingly identical are better.
Oh, okay.
Right versus left or something. Anyway, there was this long show about it. But one thing the data that I remember they found was, which one's better? The first one you eat.
Is it? And why is that?
By the time you have the second one, you've already enjoyed the first one, and you just eating a lot of the same thing, the pleasure that you feel goes down.
Right.
So it is, could you eat just part of the chocolate bar and really enjoy it?
I can't.
Well, maybe you can't, but then, you're eating probably because of the emotional side and not the actual enjoyment. And I just, one of the things I ask people is just try to be aware of that. Try and be aware when it's happening, because before you can stop it, you need to know it's happening.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the questions I ask is this fueling me? So that's to me, that's my big thing. Am I eating for comfort, or am I eating for, like, a comfort emotion thing, or am I eating because food is fuel? Yes. At the end of the day, the bonus is the pleasure, enjoyment, but I'm eating. Is this going to give me energy? Is this a natural food? Is this processed food? How am I going to feel after I eat this? If I have a Big Mac now, how am I going to feel a half an hour from now? Am I going to regret it? Is my stomach going to be upset? Did it fuel my body? Probably not. But if I had some nice chicken and fresh vegetables, is that fueling my body? Yes, it is. And is it going to make me feel better in an hour? Probably. Am I going to feel more energetic? So I try to look at it like that. It doesn't always happen a lot lately, but it's part of the journey. I'm a chocolate addict. I didn't like chocolate until I lost all of my weight. Didn't eat sweets. I wasn't fat because I ate sweets. I was fat because I ate too much, like, greasy foods and takeout. And after I lost all the weight, I started to love sweets and chocolate, unfortunately.
Interesting.
That's my crutch. Yeah. And so I will, as I said, it's part of my journey. I will go through phases where it's chocolate all the time. I live on a diet of chocolate, very not healthy. And then I shake my head and I decide, okay, get out of my system. and I get back on track, right? But I can't beat myself up. And I know I'm
Yes.
not going to continue that way because I know what it feels like now to feel good and healthy. And I don't ever want to go back to that way. So I allow myself these little moments to do my thing. And then I just, buckle down and get back on it till the next wave. I'm not perfect. So
yeah, and it's
I've
important we
accepted
don't
it.
try. It's important we don't try to be perfect.
Yeah. So the dollar store lady knows, for example, I live near a dollar store. She knows when I'm on my chocolate moments because I'm there. Like, yeah, it's quite funny. Anyway, she's like, "Oh yeah, it's the time, is it?" Puts my head down. Chocolate stashed around the house everywhere. Anyway, it's all good. So.
Yeah, well, that was a valuable. I was gonna say, like, did you have any other tips for people? I think that's a really good one, is asking yourself what's fueling you. And once you start upwards on the spiral, you do remember what it's like before.
Totally.
And I think that can be very motivating.
Yes. Yeah, so. I agree. Again, I give myself I've been maintaining now for about 5 years. And I give myself a little buffer, and I know where I need to be to feel comfortable. I know, I don't recommend the scale being, to anybody to be constantly on the scale, but it's something that kind of helps guide me in a sense. But I know when I hit a certain number that I start to not feel good. Yeah. And so I don't care what the number on the scale says. I know that, okay, it's time to maybe eat a little bit more protein and, just make these little tiny tweaks, and kind of gets me back on track. But
yeah, I find that makes a huge difference for me. I'm like, protein, I think I need to start my iron pills again, actually. But
oh yeah. I take an iron powder that's great. It makes a world of difference. But yeah.
But listening to our bodies is important.
It is. It's everything. If you don't listen to your body, that's the people that end up 50 years old in a heart attack from stress and having coped and dealt with it, right? Yeah. So important. It's so important because your bodies will tell you things are wrong way before they're actually wrong. So,
well, at least before
there's always little signs.
Healthcare system will tell us. Yes. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, especially now with all the pressures after the pandemic or during the pandemic still. But yeah, I mean, our healthcare system needs a lot of work, but that's
and I don't blame them. It's a whole other thing, but it's very,
there's a lot of layers to it.
There is a lot of layers to it. It's very frustrating, as I've said to you.
So well, thank you very much. I think it is almost 2:00 as we're recording.
2:00. Oh my gosh. That flew.
So I wanted to give you a second. Was there any kind of final thought or wrap up or anything else? I just like to give a little space at the end.
It's so funny. I mean, there's so much little things that we've talked about here to kind of take from things, but I like to appeal to people that are struggling with things, just to kind of give them hope. I mean, we haven't touched on, my experiences, but, in general, your group is such a great group, and it's such a great group of people to come together and help each other, and there's no judgment, and it's great that people can feel vulnerable and come talk to people and communicate. To me, that's the most important thing, and we talk about giving back. Just take a moment and see if you have a second. It doesn't have to cost you anything. Say something nice to somebody, do a little good deed for somebody. You don't have to let them know, but just kindness, spread it forward. Like those little things, while to make somebody else feel good, they're going to make you feel good. They're going to elevate you and help you rise up. And to me, it's, that's what life's all about, right? So that's kind of my little.
Cool. I think kindness is, if I have to pick one thing, it's my highest value. And that's not to say I always do it or don't struggle with it. I had a hard time deciding that it was my highest value, but it's the thing that I think if we have more of in the world, it's the one thing that would change everything for the better the most.
Absolutely. And it is hard. It is hard to be kind all the time. But, one little bit.
Thank you for being such a good example of it.
I'm not always either, right? I try, but I'm far from perfect.
No pressure. No pressure. Thank you.
But just do your best. Everybody do their best and take it a day at a time. So
and for me, it makes my life a lot better when I believe people are, even when it doesn't look like it.
That is true. As we've talked before about that also.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Lots of
thank you very
interesting people.
much for coming. I
Thank
was
you
so
for having me.
happy to have you here sharing your story. I think you are inspirational, and also, you know, and sharing your story and your struggles really helps other people, I think, understand that they're not alone.
No, they're not alone. Reach out. Reach out.
So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Bye.
Bye.